Hey guys, this is Squiddybon, and welcome back to .GameTV. Bethesda finally released some gameplay footage of their upcoming title Starfield during Xbox's June showcase, and the reaction has been a mixed bag. While the Starfield subreddit and Bethesda game lovers seem very positive overall, the mainstream media and content creators seem hell-bent on not liking the game. In this video, I'm going to deep dive into the criticisms being raised about Starfield to find out if this game really is setting us up for disappointment. So let's dive in. Criticism number 1. Starfield will be buggy. AAA game studios haven't given us a lot of hope lately with the state of most newly released games. Publish now, fix later has become less an exception and more the rule, as bigger studios are under huge pressure to deliver financial returns with their games. So how does Bethesda fare here? Not great. Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 4, and Fallout 76 are all fairly buggy games, and they were all certainly buggy at launch. Fortunately, with the help of some updates and a huge modding community, many of those issues were worked out over time, but even with the most sophisticated maintenance, the games are still a little bit buggy at times. So the track record isn't great, and Starfield is the largest and most ambitious title yet, so what could go wrong? Fortunately, the gameplay we were shown didn't have a ton of noticeable bugs, with the exception of this NPC having a very flexible neck. The criticism really isn't about anything we saw in the gameplay, it's about the history, and clearly the mainstream has little faith in Bethesda's polish. Given that history and the enormous scope of Starfield, we should be very glad the game was delayed until next year, and hopefully that extra time pays off. My rating on this criticism? Slightly agree. Criticism number 2. Starfield will be empty. When you hear that more than 1,000 planets will be fully explorable in Starfield, it's easy to realize that procedural generation will be used. And when you think of procedurally generated planets, you think of No Man's Sky, a game often criticized for barren, samey landscapes that often feel hollow and pointless to explore. IGN even went as far as to make a side-by-side comparison video. And there will undoubtedly be barren planets in Starfield. That doesn't mean, however, that Starfield will be empty. Todd Howard confirmed in an interview that Starfield will have more handcrafted content than any other Bethesda game, and will feature a mind-boggling 200,000 lines of dialogue. That's more dialogue than Skyrim and Fallout 4 combined. It's also been revealed that New Atlantis will be the largest city Bethesda has ever built, and that the main quest line will have close to 40 hours of content without any of the side quests, factions, resource mining, outpost building, and ship building. So even if the game is quote-unquote empty relative to the playable map size, this will be the most handcrafted, content-rich Bethesda experience of all time. Also, I think 1,000 planets is a good number, because it isn't so many worlds that you can't give each one a once-over to make sure nothing is ridiculous, and that there's a very well-balanced variety of planets. So my rating for this criticism? Strongly disagree. Criticism number 3. The combat looks terrible. Combat has never been a strong suit for Bethesda games. While Fallout 4 was serviceable, gunplay just never felt quite crisp enough, animations could seem clunky, and enemies could feel like bullet sponges. The gunplay footage in Starfield to me looks at least to be as good as Fallout 4, and maybe even a little better. The problem is, the way the person controlling in the footage is playing, it makes it really hard to know. There doesn't seem to be a crosshair, and all the hipfire makes the combat look really frustrating. I mean, just look at this use of the Equinox weapon. This gun seems like a DMR-type combat rifle, and the player is lazily hip-firing at enemies. So if a player was using actual good first-person shooting mechanics, opinions on the gunplay may change dramatically. Time to kill feels pretty normal for this genre of game, and I do like the weapon slowdown switching mechanic. That looks really nice and sleek. So until we get our hands on Starfield and get a better feel for weapon balance and power, I'm hesitant to make too much of what we saw. Also keep in mind what we watched was shot at 30 frames per second, so things really could look a lot better when performing on our actual devices, or at least I hope so. My rating for this criticism? Neutral. Criticism number 4. Creation Engine 2 looks bad. No, it doesn't. This one is pretty simple. It doesn't look bad. I'm not saying it looks like the most impressive visuals to ever come to gaming, but it does look next-gen, particularly with the game's enormous scope. Lighting looks very good, distant terrain rendering appears solid, and even character models look a lot better than previous games. Creation Engine 2 appears to be an upgrade in just about every facet of graphics. Digital Foundry actually did a great in-depth video on graphics and performance, and I'd highly recommend checking that out. While they did point out some issues here and there, they generally concluded that the graphics look very solid. Just look at the space combat. Lighting and effects look really good, and destruction is way better than I ever would have guessed a Bethesda game could have, with the different modules of this enemy ship coming off. All in all, I think the game looks great, and Bethesda has always had a knack for making beautiful environments, something I think Starfield will have no shortage of. My rating for this criticism? Disagree. Criticism number 5. Starfield has a silent protagonist. Now this one has a lot of objectivity to it. People play and enjoy different types of games for different types of reasons. There are definitely people who enjoyed Skyrim's silent protagonist over Fallout 4's voiced, and plenty of people who thought the exact opposite. I fall on the pro-silent side of the argument, and I think it greatly increases the replayability and RPG elements of the game. Whenever I play a game like Mass Effect or Fallout 4, I feel like I'm playing as someone else rather than playing as myself. I'm Commander Shepard, I'm this person with the voice. And you beat the game and replay it, and you're still that person, with that voice. When you have a silent protagonist, you have your own voice. It leaves the imagination and immersion of who you are, which I think is the whole point of an RPG game. There is a reason Skyrim keeps getting played even a decade after its release. And with so many different background types and character types in Starfield, I think this decision makes a lot of sense. Like I said, this one is subjective, but my rating for this criticism? Strongly disagree. So with all the negativity and No Man's Sky memes, the question is, will Starfield suck? Let me know in the comments what you guys think, but I personally think Starfield looks incredible, and I think a lot of content creators try to be as negative as possible to be as entertaining as possible. While we've only gotten a glimpse of Starfield, I think this is a game with Game of the Year type potential, and a decade from now, people still might be playing Starfield. If you want to see more Starfield videos in the future, make sure to hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you think Starfield is going to suck, leave a comment letting me know why. I'm perfectly okay with people having different opinions. But that's all for now, guys. I'll be back again soon with another Starfield video. This is Squiddyvon, and this is .GameTV.